Hello students, welcome back to MKH video series. My name is Aditya and in the previous video we have successfully done, you can see the important terms that needed to be understood. That means in the chapter number circles, the important terms that I've explained you earlier, like you can see the chord, then the radius, diameter, you can see arc, segment and sector, right? So they are quite important in this chapter. Now today let us move on further in this chapter and understand the basics of this, right? So in this I'm going to explain you the angle subtended by a chord at a point, right? So यहाँ पर मैं आपको बताने वाला हूँ that in a circle you can see this PQ is a chord, right? So ये जो PQ chord है, you can see it subtend angle at the center here, you can see this, and also on this major arc, right? So you can see on this major arc there is a point R जिसके ऊपर ये जो chord है angle subtend कर रही है, right? Also you can see on the minor arc there is also another point at which this chord is subtending some angle, right? So you can see we are going to discuss about, you can see angle subtended by the chord at a point, right? So start करते हैं इस topic को. You can see, let me just see this diagram here. So I have just drawn a simple diagram here. So you can see here this PQ is a line segment made by joining these 2 points P and Q. Now you can see this line segment which is made by joining P and Q is subtending a angle at point R, right? So this point R is not on this line segment PQ. It is outside the line segment PQ. So here you can see this PRQ angle is the angle subtended by the line segment PQ at point R. So आप देख सकते हैं ये जो PRQ angle है, ये PQ ने R point के ऊपर subtend किया. Subtend का मतलब होता है बनाना, right? So here this line segment PQ has made an angle PRQ at point R, right? Now let me just talk about this circle now. As I've also explained you just a few seconds ago, you can see that is the POQ is the angle subtended by the chord PQ at the center O. So अगर आप ध्यान से देखें यहाँ पे ये जो PQ है, that is the chord of this circle. मैंने आपको बताया था previous introduction के अंदर भी that this P and Q points are lying on the circumference of the circle. So this is the circumference of the circle. So ये P और Q points जो कि circumference के ऊपर lie कर रहे हैं, when we join them, or you can say when we join any 2 points lying on the circumference of the circle, so that line segment is known as the chord, right? So आप देख सकते हैं ये एक chord है. Now this is subtending angle POQ at the center of the circle, right? So ये जो PQ line segment है, the chord is subtending a angle POQ at the center, right? So here it is written, you can see now angle PRQ. अब आप देख सकते हैं ये पूरी circumference of the circle थी. So ये R point भी कहाँ पर present है? On the circumference of the circle. Also you can see when we just draw a chord here like this, so that actually you can see divide the circumference of the circle into 2 parts. The one is the major arc and the other one is the minor arc. मैंने आपको बताया था when we just divide the circle from in between, so 2 parts divided into the circumference. So यहाँ पे एक circumference जो है वो 2 parts में divide हो जाएगी. So one is the major arc and the other one is the minor arc, right? So here you can see this R point is present on the major arc, right? So यहाँ पे ये जो chord PQ है वो इस R point पे angle PRQ subtend कर रही है, right? So this R point is on the major arc, and similarly you can see this S point which is lying on the minor arc. So this chord is again subtending angle PSQ at the minor arc, right? So here you can see how angle has been subtended by a chord at any point on the circumference of the circle, right? So this is how you can see we are going to further discuss about the various things which needs to be discussed about the circles. So that was all in the topic. You can see the angle subtended by a chord at a point. Now let us move on further now. So for that, let me just make some space. So you can see here I have told you about that the chord subtends some angle at any point on the circumference of the circle. Now let us discuss that. Suppose there is a circle here like this, and let me just draw various, you can see, chords here. So यहाँ पे मैं अगर अलग अलग chords बनाऊं, suppose if I just draw a chord like this, let me just name it as AB. So this is the center of the circle, and now let me just draw another chord here, something like this, right? So let me just mark it as CD. So here मैंने यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं दो chords बनाई, AB and CD. Now by looking at these two chords, you will find out कि ये जो AB chord है वो CD से smaller है, right? यानी कि ये वाली chord जो है वो छोटी है इस CD से. Now talking about the angles they made at the center of the circle, right? So अगर मैं बात करूं कि ये जो chord AB है ये center पे क्या angle बनाएगी? AOB. You can see here, right? Now this CD chord will also subtend some angle at the center. So that will be, you can see, COD, right? So यहाँ पे दो angles form हो रहे हैं, AOB and COD, right? So let me just write that in front of it. Now you can see here AB chord is greater than CD, right? So आप देख सकते हैं, sorry, I have just written it reverse here. So CD chord is actually greater than AB, right? Now the greater chord will subtend greater angle at the center. That means angle COD will be greater than AOB, right? So what about if we talk about now, suppose that, let me just draw another circle here. So if I just draw another circle, so let me just again draw two chords here. So suppose like this. Now let me just give it as AB and CD again, right? So this is the first case and this is the second case. Now in this case, let me just tell you that here both the chords are of same length. So here I have taken a circle with two chords of equal length, right? So यहाँ पे अब मैं ये केस ले रहा हूँ जिसमें AB जो है वो CD के equal है. Now both the chords will subtend some angle at the center. So let me first draw them. So this CD will subtend angle COD and this AB will subtend angle AOB, right? Now both the angles will have equal measure because both the chords were of same length. Now this is going to be a theorem here from right this point, which I'm going to explain you right now. So this is actually a theorem here. So this theorem says that the angle subtended by the equal chords at the center is equal, right? So you can see the angles, let me just write that. So the angles subtended by equal chords at the center are equal, right? So here you can see AB is equal to CD. That means angle AOB will be equal to angle COD in measure, right? So this is going to be theorem which I'm going to explain you further here. So that was all you can see about the angles subtended by the chord at any point and also at the center of the circle. So students, now you can see I'm going to show you the theorem and prove it that you can see the angle subtended by the equal chords at the center are equal, right? So this is the theorem 10.1 which says that equal chords of a circle subtend equal angles at the center, right? So यहाँ पे मैं इस theorem में ये prove करूँगा that these two equal chords will subtend equal angle at the center. That means angle AOB is going to be equal to COD. This is what I'm going to prove here. So let me first write to prove here. So we have to prove that angle AOB is equal to angle COD, right? So how we will prove this? सबसे पहली चीज जो मुझे given है that I will write on here. So what is given to me is, you can see, so the given thing is that this AB chord is equal in length to CD, right? So this is given here कि ये जो दोनों chords हैं AB और CD, इनकी length क्या है? Equal है, right? And we have to prove that angle AOB is equal to angle COD. यानी कि ये जो दोनों chords center पे angle बना रही हैं, ये भी क्या होंगे? Equal होंगे, right? This is we have to prove. Now let me just start off the proof here. So now आप ध्यान से देखें कि ये OA distance क्या होगा? That is the radius. मैंने आपको बताया था सेंटर से circumference के ऊपर जो point होता है उसका distance क्या होता है? Radius, right? So you can see OB is also radius. Similarly, OD and OC, these are also the radius of this circle, right? So इस circle की circumference के ऊपर जितने भी points present होंगे उसका center से distance क्या होगा? Radius, और वो equal होगा, right? So these all the length are radius. So let me just also write it here in the given. So OA is equal to OB is equal to OC is equal to OD. That is the radius of the circle. Remember this, right? Now starting off here, so मैं कैसे prove करूंगा कि ये दोनों angles जो हैं वो equal हैं? आप देख सकते हैं ये जो दोनों angles हैं कौन से triangles में आ रहे हैं? AOB and COD, right? So अगर मैं इन दोनों triangles को congruent prove कर दूं by the three conditions, then you can see we can say that by CPCT ये दोनों angles क्या हो जाएंगे? Equal हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि हमें पता है कि congruent triangles का हम तीनों एंगल्स और तीनों साइड बाद में इक्वल लिख सकते हैं बाय CPCT, which is the corresponding parts of congruent triangles, right? So यहां पे सबसे पहले मैं क्या करूंगा? In triangle AOB and triangle COD, so we have now इन दोनों को congruent करने के लिए मुझे क्या चाहिए? Three conditions चाहिए, right? So the first condition is, you can see given here, that this AB side is equal to CD, right? So हमें पता है कि ये जो दोनों chords हैं ये equal length की है, ये given है, और ये दोनों chords जो हैं वो इन दोनों triangles में आ रही है, you can see. So this AB is equal to CD. That is given in the question, right? So let me just write that clear. Now moving on to the second condition. So here you will see that this OA, which is in triangle AOB radius, that is equal to, you can see, OD, right? This is also the radius, and you can see it is equal and given in the question, right? So ये OA और OD जो है वो क्या होती है? Radius, and we know that circle have equal radius even when infinite number of points are joined to the center, right? So सभी क्या होंगी? Radius होंगी. So OA जो है वो OD के equal है. You can see. Let me just correct it clear. So यहाँ पे OA is equal to OD, that is the radius of the circle, right? And we know they are equal. Then the third condition is, you can see OB is equal to OC. These are also the radius here, right? So they are also coming in these triangles here. So this OB is now equal to OC. This is also radius. So आप देख सकते हैं यहाँ पे मैंने three conditions लिख दी. Now all are the sides here. You can see side, side, side. So we can say that therefore triangle AOB is congruent to triangle COD. Now the congruency rule. So which congruency rule is applied here? So side, side, side. So that is by SSS rule here. We can say that triangle AOB is congruent to triangle COD. Getting my point? So you can see, अब जैसा कि हमने इन दोनों triangles को congruent prove कर दिया, then simply we can say by CPCT, we can say that angle AOB is equal to angle COD, right? So you can see this is what we have to prove, that you can see equal chords of a circle subtend equal angles at the center. You can see the angles are equal. So this is what we have to prove in this theorem. So always remember that the equal chords in length subtend equal angles at the center. So this is the theorem which is going to be used further. So remember this and try to do it on your own at home, right? So that was all in this theorem. So students, now I'm going to explain you another theorem, that is theorem 10.2, which is the converse of the theorem 10.1, which I have shown you earlier, right? So converse by means, I mean to say that this theorem, theorem 10.2, which I'm going to explain you, is the vice versa. That means just the inverse, opposite of the theorem number first, right? Let me just show you by reading this. So आप देख सकते हैं theorem 10.2 जो है, that says if the angles subtended by the chord of a circle at the center are equal, then the chords are equal, right? So यहाँ पे just उसके opposite statement लिखी हुई है, that कि आप देख सकते हैं पिछले वाले जो थ्योरम थी उसमें ये था कि अगर जो कोड्स हैं वो इक्वल लेंथ की गिवन थी हमारे पास, देन वी हैव टू प्रूव दैट कि जो एंगल्स बनेंगे सेंटर पे इन कोड्स के थ्रू वो इक्वल होंगे. बट यहां पे इस थ्योरम में क्या लिखा हुआ है कि हमें क्या गिवन है कि जो सेंटर पे एंगल सबटेंड हो रहा है दोनों कोड्स के थ्रू वो इक्वल गिवन है. हमें क्या प्रूव करना है कि कोड्स की लेंथ जो है वो इक्वल होगी, राइट? सो देयर इज अ जस्ट वाइस वर्सा स्टेटमेंट. दिस इज द जस्ट कन्वर्स ऑफ द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट, राइट? सो यू कैन सी हियर वी हैव टू प्रूव दैट द chords are of equal length if it is given that the angles subtended at the center are equal, right? So यहाँ पे simple सी चीज है, हमें जो given thing है that is angle AOB is equal to angle COD. If you just remember the diagram, let me just redraw that so you can get what are angles AOB and COD. So you can see we are going to draw a circle here. So don't mind if it is not perfect. I'm just drawing a free flow. Now you can see this is the center of the circle. Now let me just take two chords here, AB and CD, right? So now we have to prove that AB and CD, let me just draw it a bit straighter, like this, right? So this is, let me just write C and D, right? So we have to now prove that these two chords are of equal length. Remember this, right? But the given thing here is that the angles subtended by both the chords at the center, let me just write this O here, are equal. So ये हमें given है कि ये जो दोनों angles बन रहे हैं इन दोनों chords के through at the center, you can see. So these are equal in measure, right? So let me just show you, you can see here that angle AOB is equal to angle COD. यानी कि ये दोनों angles जो है वो हमारे पास equal given है, and you can see we have to prove that, you can see AB is equal to CD, right? Just the opposite condition from the previous theorem. यानी कि पिछले theorem में हमें ये given था कि ये जो chords हैं वो equal length की हैं, ये given था, और हमें prove क्या करना था कि जो angle सेंटर में बन रहे हैं वो इक्वल होंगे. So that was to prove in the previous theorem, but here it is the given thing, and what we have to prove here is that you can see that AB is equal to CD. Means कि ये जो दोनों chords हैं ये equal length की हैं, ये हमें prove करना है. So how we will prove this? Again you can see the two triangles forming here. You can see हम इन दोनों triangles को क्या करेंगे? Congruent prove करेंगे. Then we know that if the two triangles are congruent, then by CPCT हम उन दोनों triangles के तीनों angles और तीनों sides को क्या लिख सकते हैं? Equal लिख सकते हैं. So जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया कि तीनों sides को मैं equal लिख सकता हूं, so we can then clearly write that AB is equal to CD because ये दोनों क्या है? इन्हीं दोनों triangles की side है, right? So you can see, let me just now start off with the proof here. You can see. So the first thing, let me just tell you again here that this OA, OB, OC and OD are the radius here, right? So let me just write down again. You can see OA is equal to OB, equal to OC, equal to OD, are equal because they are the radius of the same circle, right? So एक circle की सभी जो अगर circumference के points को center से join करें, so वो सभी length क्या होंगी? Equal होंगी because they are radius. I have told you. So these all are, you can see, the radius here, right? So they are going to be equal in length. Remember this, right? So you can see this OA is now equal to OD and OB is equal to OC. So these will be the two conditions of you can see congruency for these two triangles, right? So let me first write down that in triangle AOB and triangle COD we have, so यहाँ पे सबसे पहली कंडीशन जो होगी इन दोनों ट्रायंगल्स के अंदर, that is you can see this OA is equal to OD, the radius, you can see अगर मैं इस ट्रायंगल को जस्ट इसके ऊपर सुपर इम्पोज करूंगा, इसके ऊपर रख दूंगा, so you will find out that ये जो OA साइड है वो किसके ऊपर आ जाएगी, OD के ऊपर, और ये जो OB है ये किसके ऊपर आ जाएगी, OC के ऊपर. So you can see this is how we just prove two triangles congruent. Congruent का मतलब क्या होता है, you can see अगर मैं इस ट्रायंगल को उठा के इसके ऊपर रख दूंगा, so this OA will superimpose on OD, यानी कि ये इसके ऊपर ओवरलैप करेगा. Similarly OB जो है वो OC को ओवरलैप करेगी. So you can see that's why I have written OA is equal to OD. And now the next will be, you can see first let me just write that the reason here, they are radius, that's why they are equal. And finally you can see OB is also equal to OD. They are also the radius of this similar circle, right? So that will also superimpose here. So that's why I have written OB is equal to OC. Sorry, let me just correct that, OC. Now let me just talk about the third condition, which will be show us, you can see that these two triangles are congruent, right? So the third condition is given here, that ये जो angles हैं जो center में बन रहे हैं, they are given equal to us in the theorem, right? So you can see angle AOB, which is in this triangle, is equal to angle COD, which is in the other triangle, right? So they are given in the question. So therefore now we can say that triangle AOB is congruent to triangle COD. Now the most important thing is the congruency rule. So by which congruency rule they are congruent? Let me just talk about triangle AOB first, right? So आप देखेंगे यहाँ पे side, then angle, and then again side. So by SAS rule here, these two triangles are congruent. Now as we have proved these two triangles congruent, now we all know that by CPCT we can say that all the sides and all the angles of the congruent triangles are equal. So that means this side AB is going to be equal to this side CD, which are the chords of these two, this circle, right? So that means we can say that AB is equal to CD, and this is what we have to prove in this theorem, that if the angles subtended at the center by the chords of a circle are equal, then the chords are also equal in length, right? So remember this theorem here, which will be used in the further upcoming exercise as well. So this theorem says that if the angles subtended by the chords of a circle at the center are equal, you can see, so if the angles are equal, then the chords are also of equal length, right? So I have shown you the two theorems, theorem 10.1 and theorem 10.2, which will be used further. So the first theorem, let me just recall that. So what was the first theorem that I have told you, which is the converse of this theorem? So that theorem says that equal chords of a circle subtend equal angles at the center. So उस theorem में हमें given था कि chords जो थी वो equal length की given थी. That means कि जो equal chords होती है वो center पे क्या angle बनाएंगी? Equal angle. But this theorem, which is the converse of that, says that if the angles subtended by the chords of a circle at the center are equal, then the chords are also of equal length. So remember these two theorems, they are the base of this chapter, right? So you can see that was all in this portion here.